Feargal Quinn, welcome and thanks for calling in to see us today.
Thank you, Jack.
Your new show, Retail Therapy, it's been a huge success. Tell us about how the idea came about.
Well, about 2 years ago, I was asked by a colleague actually it was in the Forum for Europe, that I was asked, would I go down to Carrick-on-Suir and give the local traders down there some ideas about how they could improve trade in Carrick-on-Suir. And having done that and made some, what I thought were brilliant suggestions, I then was asked to go to Bray, and then I was asked to go to Navan, and I found myself unable to do all these things. But what I found interesting was the challenge of trying to help people who were having some challenges, to help them get over those challenges. For instance, in the case of Carrick-on-Suir, I suggested if you could only put a roof over one of your streets, if you could only make Carrick-on-Suir the centre for, let's say, anybody who's interested in cycling because of Sean Kelly, if you could only consider how about, and I made a number of other suggestions, and similarly in Bray and elsewhere. So when the opportunity came up to do a programme called Feargal Quinn's Retail Therapy, which was to help shops that were being challenged, I said, hey, I have a little bit of experience of that for overall towns. I'd love to have a go at it because I got a great sense of satisfaction out of it, and that's how it came about.
I'm very interested in that. When the things were going well, everybody seemed to be a success. And in your experience, did that paper over a lot of the cracks? Did people just operate, take in cash, and you're the king of customer service? Did a lot of that go by the wayside?
I think there was a mixture. Just to correct you, I think there were people who failed even during good times, just as I think there will be people who succeed in the tough times. But there's little doubt it was much easier in the good times, and customer service did fail a little bit. I was very fortunate. I grew up, and if you have a chance of being born again, do your best to be born into a family that runs a holiday camp, because my father ran Red Island Holiday Camp in Skerries, and it brought 500 guests every week of the summer from England, from north of England, practically all from Liverpool, Manchester, Birmingham, and they paid on the day they arrived. Now, the difference between that business and other businesses was the deal he had made was you don't need any spare money. So the only way we judged success was not how much money we took off them, because that would have been a breach of contract. The way we judged success was if they come up at the end of the week to my father and said, I had a great holiday, I'm coming back again next year. And that's what I called, as you may, because you told me that you've read Crowning the Customer, the boomerang principle, which says everything you should do in any enterprise is aimed at getting the customer to come back again. And that isn't limited to commercial enterprises. Mind you, I was speaking down the country last year, and the speaker who came after me and heard me was John Lonergan, who's the governor of Mountjoy Jail. And when he got up, he said, I don't quite agree with Feargal that the aim is to get my customers to come back to me again.
So I'm interested to hear about how you consume the media. So on a daily basis, what newspaper do you buy? What can you not do without? What do you listen to?
I can't do without the Irish Times, because I got into the habit of taking the Irish Times, and I'm sure when I get into Leinster House, as I do most days, I drop into the library and go through the Examiner and the Independent just quickly to glance them. The other paper that I would want to see fairly regularly, if not every single day, is the Financial Times. Now, they're the three. The magazine that I need, and I get it in the post, so it doesn't come till Monday, which is a little bit late, is The Economist. And I like to get The Economist. I have a lovely story about The Economist, by the way. One of my hang-ups is I don't like loyalty that rewards disloyalty rather than loyalty. And therefore I hate when somebody says this only applies to new customers, it doesn't apply to existing customers. And I got a phone call a couple of years ago at home from a young woman in London, who said, my wife couldn't figure out why this woman was ringing me and wouldn't tell her. And she says, I'm from The Economist magazine, do you want to renew your contract? And I said, oh yes, I do, I like The Economist. I didn't realise it was running out, I'll happily renew it. And I said, I see there's a 35% reduction. Oh no, she says, that only applies to new customers. And I said, listen, and she said, don't give out to me, I'm only, do you want it or not? So I don't get The Economist anymore.
Yeah, well,
my wife now gets The Economist.
I had a similar experience with The Economist. I think it's funny.
But they've changed that since. I'm taking credit for it. They now do treat regular customers well.
I think it's a paradox, but a real measure of success is getting your obituary in The Economist. And bizarrely, Tommy Makem, who for someone of my generation, it really put it on my mind of how successful he was, that his obituary was in The Economist.
I missed it.
What I suppose, in the Irish Times or in the Financial Times, The Economist, what sections do you not miss, or who do you like to read?
Well, if you promise not to tell anybody, most days, no, not most days, regularly, I go to the crossword section first to see the one or two words on Crosaire that I didn't get out the night before. And now I usually get it out, but not always. But if there's one or two words that I didn't get out, I'm ashamed to say, well, I'm not ashamed, I'm proud to say that, look, that's the one I look at first. But I would invariably go to the political page if it's during the week where the Seanad has been working, and I very seldom miss a day in the Seanad. I'm very envious of Jimmy Walsh, the journalist who covers it for the Irish Times. But I think people like David Norris seem to always get in ahead of them. Now I sit with David on my left and Owen Harris on my right and Shane Ross beside him on the other side. So there's a lot of competition there, and they're great orators. So someone like me is trying to say, look, I have a point to make. And one of my hang-ups just yesterday I was on about is, because the hour is changing now, I want Ireland to join Central European Time. That will give us an extra hour every evening of the year. An extra hour's daylight.
Good idea.
Right, winter and summer the whole time through. Now, we had it for 3 years way back in the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. And it was lost because of the Scottish farmers, I think, didn't like it, although I don't know why they didn't tell the cows that the time was different. But Gordon Brown has now said in Britain that he's giving serious consideration to it, and the three major parties in Britain are giving serious consideration to it. I've been arguing for it since 1994. What's that, 16 years now. And I really believe the benefit is huge to us. Energy, we save a lot of energy the whole year round. I mean, the electricity that we would save, the power that we'd save by having an extra hour daylight. We'd lose the hour in the morning, but during summertime it gets bright at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Everybody's on the move.
It's
anyway.
No, we don't use any. The disadvantage about it is that we'd have it dark when the kids are going to school in mid-December to mid-January. But it seems to me it's easy enough to change the school hour by make it 10 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock at that stage. But that's only one of the areas. But I looked to see if it was in the paper today, but although I made a very strong case for just some other thing gets the attention, so I don't always get it. The other case I've been arguing very strongly for, and I hope we're getting somewhere, because my bill that I introduced is what they call presumed consent for organ donation. In other words, if you die at the moment, unless you're carrying a donor card, they can't use your body organs. Well, they can't use it without your permission of your family. If, on the other hand, presumed consent, that means there are people who are dying because they can't use very, very suitable body organs. If, on the other hand, we had presumed consent, it says, unless you're carrying a card that says you can't use my body organ, then they can be used. And I think it'll save many, many lives. And there's a great quote which says, don't take your body organs to heaven with you, because heaven knows we need them here on earth. There are people dying because they can't use body organs from people that would be ideally kidneys and livers and eyes and everything.